You already know what happened in the black-green forest. Or at least, what we thought happened. The cameraman was the only one found alive. But alive doesn't mean saved. When he came out of that forest, his eyes didn't look like eyes anymore. More like windows that something else was looking through. He kept repeating, "Katya came out with me. I swear she did. She was holding my hand." But there was no Katya. No footprints. No camera footage showing her. Only him. And he still had his hand clenched, as if he was holding someone's fingers. Except his hand was empty. At least, it looked empty. Nurses said that when they tried to open his fingers, they heard a faint, wet, cracking sound, like something inside his palm didn't want to let go. He stayed the first night in a normal room. Doctors thought it was trauma, shock, hallucinations. But trauma doesn't explain why the lights in his room flickered only when he closed his eyes. Or why the motion sensor in his room kept detecting another person standing in the corner. A person who was never visible on camera. Or why nurses kept hearing a second set of footsteps behind theirs when they walked past his door. One nurse said she heard a woman whisper, "He promised." Another said she heard, "He came back for me." And one night, something knocked on the inside of the wall between his room and the empty one next door. 3 slow knocks, then 2, then 1, like a code. The nurse checked the empty room. There was no one inside, but the bed had a deep, long indentation on it, as if something very tall had been sitting there for a long time, watching. On the 4th night, the hospital cameras recorded something they later tried to erase. They didn't want anyone to see it. Not doctors, not administrators, and definitely not police. But the file survived, and you're going to hear exactly what was on it. 1:11 a.m., the cameraman sits upright in bed, shaken, wide awake. He whispers, "Katya, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." 1:13. He begs something in the corner. "Please, don't be angry. I didn't leave you. You followed me." The corner is empty, at least to the naked eye. 1:16. The temperature sensor shows a sudden drop, from 22 degrees Celsius to 8 degrees Celsius in 5 seconds. The cameraman turns slowly and stares at a blank wall. He says, "You're getting closer." 1:17, a long, dark shape appears behind him, not standing, but growing, like a shadow being poured from the ceiling to the floor. The shape stretches, and 2 thin, impossibly long arms extend toward him. The shadow touches his back. He flinches violently and whispers, "Not here. Please. Not here." 1:20, he starts crying. Silent tears. He says, "I can still feel her fingers. She didn't let go. She never let go." Then he opens his right hand, the one that was tightly clenched since he left the forest, and the camera zooms in automatically because the movement triggered it. Inside his palm is a deep, fresh indentation. 5 marks, as if someone with long, claw-like fingers had been holding his hand, hard, for hours. But the horrifying part? The marks were still wet, fresh, dripping, as if the fingers had been holding his hand seconds before he opened it. 01:32, he suddenly sits up straight and says to the empty room, "Fine, I'll come back with you." Then he stands, walks calmly to the door, and just before leaving, he turns toward the camera and whispers, "She's waiting in the trees." Then the camera catches something that should be impossible. a massive shadow detaches itself from the corner, stretching upward, taller than the doorway. Thin, elongated limbs scraping the floor, and follows him. The door opens by itself. Without sound, he walks out, and the shadow follows. The footage ends. At 3:10 a.m., a night guard spotted him walking barefoot on the road leading away from the hospital. The guard shouted, "Sir, stop! You can't leave!" The man didn't even turn his head. But something else did. Behind him, a tall, thin silhouette turns its head toward the guard. No face, just darkness. The guard immediately backed away and later quit his job the same night. He said, "It looked at me, but it had no eyes. And somehow, that was worse." The cameraman walked for hours, straight toward the black-green forest, as if something was calling him or pulling him. Probably both. He reached the forest just before dawn. A passing truck driver saw him standing right at the tree line. Fog so thick around him it looked like the forest was breathing. The driver rolled down his window. "Hey, are you all right?" The man didn't respond, but someone else did. A woman's voice from the fog whispered, "He came back." The driver sped away so fast he nearly flipped the truck. That was the last confirmed sighting. He walked inside and disappeared. But something else came out. Since that night, locals recorded things. Doors opening by themselves, shadows lingering too long, children talking to a tall friend in the hallway, pets refusing to enter certain rooms. People kept hearing whispers in their homes, not through walls, not from outside, from inside their rooms. Always the same two voices, one whispering, "He promised," and a deeper, distorted one repeating the same words 2 seconds late. Some people even reported seeing a figure standing at the edge of the woods, a girl, long hair, dark clothing, staring silently at their houses. And behind her, something tall and impossibly thin was holding her shoulders, like a puppet. 2 weeks after he disappeared, a family driving home late at night saw a girl standing on the road. They slowed down, thinking she was injured. The father said, "Miss, are you okay?" She raised her head slowly and smiled. The mother screamed, "Oh my God!" Her eyes, they were black, completely, just like Katya's on the night she was possessed. The girl whispered, "He's with me now." Then she turned her head toward the forest, and something stepped out behind her. A tall, twisted creature with arms too long to belong to anything human, its body shifting like it was made of shadows. The girl whispered, "And now, we're looking for another." They drove away so fast they nearly lost control. They reported it to the police. The police refused to investigate. The black-green forest has been closed off. Government tape, warning signs, patrols. But people still hear things coming from inside it. Sometimes crying, sometimes laughter, sometimes names. Sometimes it sounds like the girl, sometimes like the cameraman, and sometimes something much older, something that moves between the trees, tall enough to touch the branches, thin enough to slip between shadows. People say if you listen carefully at night, you can hear two voices, one whispering, the other echoing, both waiting, both hungry, both calling, and they're getting louder.